Hi everyone, good morning. It's Rita from Miss Rita to the Rescue. How are you this morning? It's kind of a rainy, dreary day here. April 2nd, Autism Awareness Day, World Autism Awareness Day. And I thought that I would come and bring a little bit of sunshine to the day. I don't know if it's rainy where you are, but it sure is rainy here today. So I thought that I would show you a little bit about some Easter cards that I had developed a while back. They were like a very simple card that had a written sentiment in it, and I would cut it on my maker. I'm just going to give you an idea of what it looks like. So this is what it looks like, and it's very simple. And it has just like this cute little bunny that I would do in glitter, with the background in glitter, and then the silhouette in just like a matching flat color, like a solid color. But then what I would do is I would take a piece of paper that was patterned on one side. Good morning, Danielle. Good morning, Danielle. So what I mean by patterned on one side is a lot of times you can buy this paper. You can usually buy it like at Michael's. They often will have sales. They call it hot buys, and you can get them, 3, 4 or something like that. Buy 2, get 4 free or something like that. Good morning, Sydney. Good morning, Mayra. Hi. Good morning. Welcome. So glad to see you today. So if you got a paper pad like this that's patterned, most of the time the patterns are usually only on one side. You see, and on the back is white. Well, that sometimes doesn't work too well, but it works really well for cards, especially cards that you're going to put sentiments on the inside. And I wanted to show you what I do, how I use it. The paper, this is 12 by 12 paper, but I cut it down to 8.5 by 11, and I use my cutter, which you've seen me use a lot, but I'll show you here anyway. So here's a 12 by 12 sheet of paper and here's actually 12 by 12 sheet of paper, and here's my cutter. Let me move my laptop out of the way. Okay, so I'm just going to cut the 12 by 12 down to 8.5 by 11, and all of you paper fans, don't worry, I do keep all of these scraps, so you don't have to worry about me wasting. I don't waste. I'm not a waster. Okay. So I cut down this sheet of 12 by 12 to be 8.5 by 11. Good morning, Wendy. And then I use the same technique as I use on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, which is I cut it in half exactly the long way. Okay. So it's 8.5 by 11 now. So the long way, I'm going to cut it at 5.5 inches, right? Because half of 11 is 5.5. So here's 5.5. And then I end up with 2 sheets of paper. And the great thing about this paper is, again, it's white on one side and patterned on the other. We want that for this project. Let me do this one here as well. Okay. As long as my dog doesn't go kooky, he's acting very strangely, I think, because of the weather. But then again, when doesn't he act strangely? Okay, so a couple of things to point out here is that oftentimes you can find like these really awesome sheets of double-sided paper, and these are really good for other projects. So save them, because this is not going to work for our sentiment on the inside of a card that's done on the Joy. Okay, so these are really beautiful. I really love them, but I'm not going to use them for this project. I'm going to use one-sided pattern, but you could also use white as well. That's also a thing that we can do where you can kind of build on the card. So our 8.5 by 11-inch sheets have been cut in half the long way. We're going to just fold them like this, right? And we can use our little scraper to get that nice fold on it. Now, okay, so now we're going to use the card mat because we're going to be cutting on the Joy. And it's very similar to the way that you cut with the insert cards. You're just going to take the card mat and we're going to take our folded card. But what we're going to do is we're going to open it up and we're going to show the inside, right? Hold on, I got to let this dog out. Oh, he's so crazy. All right, Benji. I know. Come on. There you go. Sorry. You know that means that I'm going to have to get up and let him back in again, probably in 2 minutes. Okay, so here's our card, right? And we're going to fold it with the white side facing. We're doing that because we're going to put a sentiment on the inside of the card. So that way this part here, the decorated pattern part, serves as our outside of our card front. You see? So just like that. Now, I created this card a long time ago, and it basically consists of, it was a card that would be cut on the Maker. Let me just kind of see if I can get in a little bit closer so you can kind of see. So it has a score line and it has a big card, you know, and this is not going to be able to be cut on the Maker, okay? Because on the Joy, because it has a score line and the Joy. Oh, nice. Oh, Sydney, that's great. I actually delivered a dozen to an ambulance place, the one that's in our town, and then 3 dozen to the ARC, which is like a national, but we have a regional. It's very, very active. So the ARC, I delivered 3 dozen. I'll be doing more later on when I get done with this and other things. I'm so glad to hear that you're still doing it, Sydney. Yay, wonderful for you and for everyone. Thank you so much. So, okay, so getting back to the card, so we can't cut this on the Joy because A, it has a score line, and B, it's too big, okay? But I want to use that sentiment because I really like it. Wishing you a very happy Easter and a delightful spring. Now, this is something I wrote, I put together and made a text box, and I chose the font and I attached the font to the card and I cut it on my Maker in the past. Okay, so, but now I want to cut it on my Joy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide the actual card and the score line so that I can just use the sentiment on our card mat. So let me show you. I'm just going to use my little eyeball thing and hide the card and make sure I hide the score line as well. I'm also going to hide the front part of the card here too, so that we can just focus on the inside. And so I'm going to hit Make It. And you'll see when it comes up, it gives me a choice. Do I want to put it on a mat? Do I not? Do I want to put it on the card mat? So this is for a pre-folded card. So I'm going to choose card mat just because it's not an insert card that I got from Cricut doesn't mean I can't use the card mat. And we've shown you how to do that in the past. So I'm going to choose on the card mat. And that's a different distinction only because the card mat actually helps you to decide where you want to put your sentiment, right? Because it shows up here at the top. left-hand corner, but we don't want our sentiment there. We want to move it. So we're just going to click on it, and I'm using my laptop today, but if I was using my iPad or my phone, you know, you could do this with your finger, but I can't do that with my iPad. So I'm going to kind of eyeball it, and I think this is a good place for it, okay? And then I'm going to hit continue, and I'm going to choose my material, and I'm also going to choose my pen. Let's see. Normally I would choose like a light colored pen, but well, I suppose I could choose this. It's kind of a brown. I have other colored pens, but I just don't have them here. Now, even though it's not cutting anything, it does need to know what the material is. In this case, it's medium cardstock, or you could choose insert cardstock. That's fine. And I'm going to move the laptop so you can see how the machine does this, okay? So let's move the machine over. You see that it is blinking. I'm going to open it, and it's asking me to insert the pen. The pen's pretty easy to insert, but I'll show you. You must use a Cricut Joy pen. The other pens will not work. The pens that you might have received or have, you know, purchased for your Maker or your Explorer, it has to be a Joy pen. And I'm sure that someone along the way are gonna figure out what kind of pen works in the Joy, but I just always use Cricut products. That's just kind of me. So so it has to say Cricut Joy, and then we're just going to take off the cap. We're going to unclamp, right, and take out our blade and blade housing, put that aside, and then we're going to just pop that pen right there. No need to push it. No need to hold the clamp, which is something that we've done in the past with the other machines, or we still do with the other machines, but not this one. There's no like clicking noise you have to listen for or anything. You just pop it in and close the clamp, okay? And then I'm going to take my card with the inside of the card facing at the top. I'm going to load it. And my computer screen says loading. And then I'm going to hit go. And it will start preparing and writing the sentiment on the inside of our card. And while it's doing that, I will show you, I did try this before the video, and I did try it with this is a 1.0 tip pen. Whoa. It's a gel pen, and frankly, I don't like the way that it looks on this paper. It kind of looks like it's bleeding a little bit, so get out in there closer. I'm not sure if it's because of the tip being 1.0, or it's possible that it's the paper. Maybe the paper's too pulpy or whatever. So for this one here, I tried it this way, and I thought, okay, I like the idea that it's pink, but I don't like the idea that it kind of looks a little bit bleeding a little bit. So I chose instead this size pen, which is a 0.4. So it's a fine point pen. I just show you what it looks like on the end. And this is where you'd find out what size pen it is, okay? So that's what we have in there. And then while I have it out, I'll show you, this is the blade and the housing. If you are finding that you need a new blade, you can usually tell that if it's not cutting all the way through, or sometimes it's dragging. Here's how you would take your blade out. You'd press this little plunger and take out the blade. See how small it is? It's very tiny. And you just put it back in by pressing the plunger again, and voila, there it is back there again. And you will need to change your blade from time to time. That's just the nature of the business. And you know, it's just the cost of working with the Cricut is that blades have to be replaced and mats have to be replaced occasionally, and they do work on making sure that those things are high quality and they don't have to be replaced that often, but you know, they do from time to time. So if you're choosing your pens, you might want to try them out on the paper before, or like on a little strip, maybe the part that we cut, and see how it's going to work. Remember, the pen, when it's working in the machine, it's going to go up and down, up and down. So that's how it's going to work. And what's important about that, especially with the gel pens, because a gel pen has like a little ball at the tip. I don't know if you can see that, but it has a little ball at the tip. That's how it distributes the ink. And so when you're first starting with a gel pen, you have to, what I call, prime it, which really just means to test it and make sure, and do it in all different ways, like holding it straight up, or, you know, sort of doing circles, you know, just kind of making sure that that ball is moving around and flowing easily so that the gel doesn't skip, the ink doesn't skip. Okay, I'm hearing that my card is done, but also my dog is at the door. So just give me a moment. Let me get that guy. Come on, you. Thank you so much for being patient. This dog he's a rescue and he's extremely needy. Okay, so I'm going to unload my card is done as far as the writing goes, and I'm unloading it. I'm going to take out my pen while I'm at it. I'm going to put my blade and housing back in and move it over just so you can have a look. And there is my completed card with the sentiment on the inside. And then what I will do is I can cut out the bunny and the silhouette and put that on there. Maybe even put a happy Easter thing there, but I kind of like them sort of simple. And then I have a completed card just like that. I can show you again how this works. But it's a pretty simple process. It's just a matter of thinking through, how do I get the sentiment on the inside of the card? Well, of course, you just have to fold the card in a certain way on the card mat to get that sentiment. So let's do that again, just so for the people that maybe weren't paying attention. So here's my 8.5 by 11 inch piece of paper. It was cut in half the long way, right? And I'm going to fold it. There we go. You can use your fingers or you can use your scraper to create that score line. And then I'm going to open it up, right? Put it in my card mat. Press it on there really good. And again, to go back to the design, whoops, let me close this. Show you in the design. It's simply the sentiment. This is if you're working with the Joy. Now, by the way, so here's the sentiment, which I have moved to sort of where I want it on the inside of the card. And by the way, I will give you this this design to make the cards. It's a pretty simple design, but I'm happy to do it. And all you need to do is, if you want to use it on your Joy, you just have to make sure that you, let's put in this one, is you need to make sure you shade out the actual card and the score line, because otherwise your machine, if you're connected to the Joy, it will tell you this is not a format that Joy can cut or do. Okay, so So that this way you can use this same card technique both on your Maker and Explore and also on your Joy. It just requires that you shade out the card and just do it this way using the CardMat. And I will give you that as soon as I'm done with this video. I'll give you that design space file. So look for it in the description of the video, okay? And let's see if there's anything else. This does require a little bit of glue. So if you're going to use this, and you're going to cut out the bunny and the silhouette of the bunny, then you will need to glue those pieces together. I'm not going to show you that part for this video, just simply because I know you guys know how to do that. But if you want to see that, I'm happy to show you that in a future video. I also wanted to mention that I have a really beautiful card that I'm trying, it's an Easter card that I'm trying to make work on the Joy, because it has a very unique shape. So I've been working on that, and I'll be coming back to show you. It has a beautiful lattice like front to it, and it's layered, so beautiful. And I'm going to see if I can try to rework it so that you can use it on both the Joy and on the Maker or Explore machines. But that is really very simply how you would add a sentiment to the inside of a Joy card. Now remember too, if you wanted to, after you add the sentiment, if you wanted to go back and cut out the front instead of putting things on there, you can do that too. I would recommend doing the sentiment first and then turning it around, put it on the CardMat, and then do the cut from there, okay? And you can do that with any of the Joy cards that are listed in Design Space. And I'm trying to think what else we need to tell you about that. Well, those cards, if you haven't seen me do that before, to find the cards from Cricut Design Space, you're going to go to the projects link, and you're going to go to cards, and the cards will show up there. There's 135 Joy cards there. You can also look in the area called Free for Cricut Joy if you are cutting on your Joy, okay? So that's where you would find all those beautiful cards that everybody's been making all along. So, and we're just about done showing you the way that this works. I know it's out of camera a little bit, so let me just show you how I take it out. Now it's done, and I have to unload it on my laptop. So it pulls out, and then there is my CardMat, and I simply peel it off, and I'm done. I can close it up like this, and now I can decorate the outside, or if I wanted to, I can put this back onto my CardMat like this and cut directly on this. It's not something I would do, but if it was a solid, I probably could do that. But I've done it both ways, and both ways look great. It's just not my typical style to use a patterned piece of paper for a card. So there is how to do a sentiment on the inside of a Joy card. I hope you enjoyed that. Sorry, I'm being punny. Let's see, tomorrow I think I'm going to try to show you hydrangeas. I actually have two different kinds of hydrangeas. So the first one comes from Leah Griffith, and here are the petals which I cut on my Joy, and I'm going to show you how to cut these on the Joy. I did have to work around on the original file because it comes with all, there's a lot of petals, and all the petals are like attached, and there's a lot of them. And so initially it wouldn't cut on the Joy because it's just way too big. So I cut up that initial image so I could cut out all of these little petals, and I'm going to show you how to do that tomorrow. And then I'll show you how to put it onto a styrofoam ball, and I use a glue gun, even though I don't like glue guns. And then the second hydrangea, let me see if I can grab it. The second hydrangea that I do comes from Dreaming Tree, and it uses a styrofoam ball. So if you want to see how that's done, and you happen to know who doesn't have styrofoam balls around? I know I always have them. I don't know. I always have leftovers from different things. So go and search for your styrofoam balls, and that one. Yes, Denise, and that one uses actually a really beautiful green piece and slightly bigger petals, right? And this one here does not use glue; it uses pins. Here, I'll show you. It uses these pins, which I actually got on Amazon. So I'm going to show you how to do both of those. Probably not together. I'll probably do them separately so that people can follow along. So thanks so much for coming today. I hope you have a wonderful day, and you make good use of your time. I hope you're all crafting. Feel free to show me what you've done. And I will, of course, I will give you this file. So come back and look for it. If you're watching this live, come back and look for it after I post the video. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, it will be in the description of the video on YouTube, okay? Thanks so much, everyone. Yay, tomorrow's going to be fun, too. Amy, hydrangeas are one of my favorites. My other favorite is peonies, or peonies, as we call them. And I have a whole garden full of them. So I'm going to show you how to make those as well. And but hydrangeas are so beautiful, and they come in such beautiful colors too, that I can't wait to show you these two projects as well. Thanks so much for coming today, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Oh, my pleasure, Wendy. Bye until tomorrow. Take care of yourselves. Thank you.